Hello everyone, Michael the Librarian of Magic here, finding and cataloging the magical and pointing you to it. Today is October the 5th, and I'm already on the 5th one of these drawings, going straight through the month, one every day, new villains that I haven't done before, and kind of reaching for some of those deeper cuts, which I always like to do. I like to highlight some of these characters that feel like they're forgotten, or less recognized or whatever, and learn more about them and bring them back to light a little bit through having some fun, making some drawings, and doing some fun Halloween season villain treats. So today's drawing, with all of that said, is Honest John and Gideon. Honest John being the fox and Gideon being the smaller cat from 1940's Pinocchio. I've done a lot of Pinocchio drawings already, if you saw the last season of drawings that I did, and that's because there are just a ridiculous amount of antagonists in the film Pinocchio. There's probably some I haven't even done yet, but I finally got a chance to get around to doing these guys, and they're really fun to draw. They kind of have an interesting style to them, especially Honest John, who's kind of trying to look classier than he is, but if you look at his suit, it's kind of threadbare. There's patches in the elbows and the knees, and it's kind of falling apart a little bit, and his hat is kind of tore up and slumpy, but he's trying to look, classy. And Gideon even less so. He kind of looks even a little bit more rough than that, but you can tell that they're both kind of swindlers. They're liars. Honest John's official name is J. Worthington Longfellow, and you get the impression that he's sort of a failed vaudeville actor type, or struggling vaudeville actor type, who's kind of taken to lying and swindling people. And he sort of represents both of these characters represent the allure of Pinocchio being able to take the easy road in life instead of going to school and working to get an education and all that stuff. Rather, you could just become an actor and forget all that school stuff and whatever, and live a life of ease. Even though these guys haven't lived a life of ease, they're also struggling. So that's kind of what that is supposed to represent in a way. These characters were animated by some pretty famous group of people, some of whom are part of, one of whom is part of Walt's Nine Old Men. That's John Lounsbury, but also Norman Ferguson, Hugh Fraser, Preston Blair, and Seamus Collane worked on these characters in one fashion or another. There was a song that that Honest John originally had sung in the original cut of the movie. There was a lot of ideas that hit the cutting room floor in this particular movie. They wanted to put a lot of stuff into it and really go for it. And for time reasons and cost reasons, there were a lot of various cuts. And when you watch the movie critically, it kind of shows a little bit, because it doesn't feel as the plot doesn't feel as integrated throughout. It feels a lot more like vignettes, which I believe I've mentioned in one of my other videos about Pinocchio villains. And that's not to say that makes it bad by any stretch of the imagination. Pinocchio, from an animation standpoint, is an absolute masterpiece. It really is just moving art, and they just don't do it that way anymore. And it's so beautiful to look at and worthy of checking out in terms of animation history and art history and all of that stuff. But anyway, he had a song called Honest John that apparently hit the cutting room floor, and eventually the song that he did end up singing in the movie is Hi Diddly Dee, The Actor's Life for Me. And so that song does end up in the movie. Another thing that hit the cutting room floor for whatever reason, time or cost or whatever, is they were shown or originally supposed to be shown to be arrested and reprimanded in the end of the movie, and it's just sort of implied instead. They had a scene planned for that, and they took it out of the movie in the end because it just didn't fit back in. So that was supposed to happen, but it didn't. The characters were also supposed to be planned later on down the road in the Mickey and the Beanstalk segment of the film Fun and Fancy Free. They were supposed to be included in that movie as the people who sell the beans to Mickey, the sort of bean crooks, if you will, but ultimately that didn't happen either. Honest John was voiced by a actor of stage and screen called Walter Catlett, who was active from about 1924 to 1957 and did quite a few things that I'm not familiar with. Is pretty golden age of Hollywood type of stuff. Disney-wise, he was in the movie Davy Crockett and the River Pirates, which is, they did these sort of films that packaged together some of the episodes of the TV shows Davy Crockett and Zorro, and they put some episodes edited some episodes together to make a feature-length film out of both of those. Davy Crockett and the River Pirates is one of those, which is kind of interesting. And he was sort of he did a good job in this particular role. I like his sort of faux acting thespian, full of himself thespian style that he did with this particular role. He was a good choice for that. Gideon was voiced, quote unquote, by Mel Blanc, the man of 1,000 voices, very famous for voicing a huge fraction of the Looney Tunes characters. Everybody should be familiar with Mel Blanc. Originally, Gideon had a whole bunch of lines in the script, a whole bunch of dialogue that Mel Blanc did record, and they, through the middle of production, ended up deciding they wanted Gideon to be a silent character, sort of a mime-ish character, and so they took away all of his dialogue with the exception of 3 hiccups that he does in the movie, and those were actually still recorded by Mel Blanc. So he did 3 hiccups and got a decent little paycheck for it, and I believe was quoted in somewhere that I read as saying that, it was like the most money he ever made for 3 hiccups or whatever. So yeah, even though his lines are deleted, it is Mel Blanc hiccuping apparently, and it's just kind of cool that he was involved with that too, that he did, was involved in a Disney project and stuff back in the day before he really got heavily known for doing a lot of the Looney Tunes stuff. It is interesting that Gideon is a cat, because he's a anthropomorphic cat that can walk and talk, or theoretically talk. But Figaro the cat is also in the movie. That's Geppetto's pet cat. So there are like cats as we would know them, cats, but then also anthropomorphic cats. It kind of adds to the magical realism of the movie. It's just sort of fantastical when it wants to be, and that's kind of an interesting thing about it. You just sort of have to go with it. It's a movie that if you think too hard, it doesn't work right, but if you go with the magical realism of it, it really is just genius. It's trying to hit you on this fantasy wavelength, and if you allow it to do that, if you sort of hit it in the right way and get on its level, it really, really works. Additionally, Gideon was a character that was featured in the original novel by Carlo Collodi, and was a cat, but the cat was female, and they decided to make the cat male here. They modeled some of the character modeling of Gideon after Harpo Marx, just sort of some of the look with the hat and the mimicry. I don't know how you say that. So yeah, that's kind of where some of that allegedly came from. So yeah, that's some interesting things about Gideon and Honest John. Some more antagonists, I guess you could say, or villains from Pinocchio. There are many, because Pinocchio has many adventures and runs into many interesting people in that film. So hopefully you learned some stuff about some of the voice actors and a little trivia from the film, the making of Pinocchio. There's a lot more to go into there. It's one of the highlights of the golden age of Disney and Walt Disney himself, Walt Disney's career. So yeah, it was really fun to draw them and to highlight some of that era a little bit more. I hope that you enjoyed it, looking at my drawing and learning a little bit about that film and these characters. Thanks as always for joining me on these. I'll be back tomorrow with another one. I hope that you come along and that you're learning something, getting something out of these as much as I am in making them. That's really my goal, is just for anybody who finds these to be able to enjoy them and learn something, maybe be inspired to watch the films or learn a little bit more about animation history, the people who draw these things and create the art and bring them to life with their voices, etc. So it's fun to highlight these characters and have a little bit of fun with villains for the month of October. Thanks as always for watching these, and I'll see you in the next one tomorrow. Bye-bye.